Well, let's get more on Obama's comments on cybersecurity from Loz Kay. He's the leader of the UK Pirate Party. Loz, President Obama, he cited growing threats from cyber attacks. How justified are these fears?
Well, of course, we all want to be protecting key infrastructure in our countries. But frankly, it's extremely worrying that Obama has chosen to assign an executive order in such a controversial area as cybersecurity. Now, your report mentioned very controversial legislation that was before the House, the so-called CISPA. Civil liberties groups have been warning that this was a pathway to possible serious monitoring of ordinary citizens' internet use. Now, so essentially, by signing an executive order, this is bypassing Congress, but that also means bypassing public debate on this important issue.
But he does stress that this executive order will possess strong privacy and civil liberties protection. So why don't you trust that?
Well, sure. The executive order in itself is actually an improvement on CISPA, in particular because the information is just about flowing in one direction from government to key infrastructure companies. However, it's pretty transparent that this actually was essentially a political ploy to put pressure on Congress to move forward with further legislation. And indeed, Obama said that explicitly within the State of the Union address. What's very worrying is that still the definitions are very loose. So what constitutes cyber intrusion, for example? Does denial of service attacks count as cyber intrusion, for example? We've seen time and time again legislation brought in the name of national security to be used more widely and actually harassing ordinary citizens. And
But why is that, Loz? Well, because you just said key infrastructure interests are at stake here. Obama says power grids, financial institutions and air traffic control systems could be sabotaged. Now, surely something's got to be done if that threat is really existing. And why then should ordinary people be worried about the impact of those being protected by this initiative?
Sure. Well, what we have to look, what is actually on the table here? It's when we come down to actually these key infrastructure areas. Well, that's basically ordinary policing. It's actually a bit ludicrous to dress this up in this language of cyber, this, that, and the other. But the important thing to say is that with cybersecurity, it's about securing systems and technology, not securing access to the private information of citizens. And all of this legislation is about pushing towards actually information sharing. And that is really the concern that civil liberties groups have.
So this does, sorry to ask you, this does involve ordinary citizens like you and me. We use the internet every day. Is it not aimed at criminal groups, terrorists, and indeed even state-sponsored organisations?
Well, I mean, if we look at what the executive order has in it, it's actually, I think it's going to end up pleasing no one, because security experts have said today that it's actually pretty toothless. This is because it doesn't have the same power to compel companies to act. But that's actually, as I said, it's actually essentially a political tool to put pressure on Congress. CISPA is not off the table. This is coming back, and this has huge implications in terms of the monitoring of all citizens. And also, this is not just for US citizens. It concerns all of us around the world, what the US does.
Loz, thanks a lot. Good to hear your thoughts. Loz Kay there from the UK Pirate Party, live here on RT. Thank you.